A poll this week, the Tories dropped to fourth place.
I saw that. Fourth place behind the Lib Dems.
Kemi's days are numbered. She's in major trouble now. Oh yeah, he's keeping his hands off the murder weapon, isn't he? Oh, definitely.
He could be the kingmaker, just like Nick Clegg.
If they turn out to be crap, then we've lost nothing. Because we've got rubbish in charge now anyway.
The Greens, to me now, are openly a communist organisation, and they're attracting all the Islamic nutcases to their cause. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's returning and still amazing guest is that Preston journalist. Ash, how are you doing?
Really good, thanks, Nick. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Whenever I want to get an overview of what's happening in the country with politics, the political parties, I always think of you and I always invite you on. What's going on across the political spectrum at the moment with the different parties? How they're doing, how they're doing in the polls, what are the challenges, what's going on in the UK?
Well, as we know, the country isn't exactly flourishing at the moment. Things are going pretty badly. But then again, purely speaking politically, it depends who you're talking about, doesn't it? I mean, if you're the Lib Dems, you've had a pretty decent general election. Not as good as what they would hoped, I think, but they had a pretty decent general elections. They gained 300 odd, didn't they, I think, in the end?
Local elections.
Local elections, yeah. Sorry, yeah, local elections. If you're the Greens, you're fairly happy. You gained, was it 40 odd councillors? Possibly more in the local elections. If you Reform UK, you're absolutely ecstatic because all the polls have got you well up. You've just won just under 700 councillors in the local election. You've taken control of 10 councils. You've kind of ridden, I won't call it a scandal, but you've rode the storm, if you will, of the Rupert Lowe incident and the Ben Habib slagging you off because he's having absolutely no impact whatsoever on the polls. The people that are worried, the people that are really in trouble here are the establishment. You know, your Tory party, your Labour Party. In a poll this week, the Tories dropped to fourth place.
I saw that. Fourth place behind the Lib Dems.
You dropping behind a guy that looks like the Toad of Toad Hall and goes down water slides in the leader of the Lib Dems. That's how bad the things are going for the Conservative Party. We'll probably go into it in more depth. I mean, but Kemi's days are numbered. She's in major trouble now. And, you know, if you're Labour, you're just as bad. All right, they didn't lose as much in the local elections because they didn't have much to defend. They sorted that by cancelling people's votes, didn't they? Cancelling democracy. But they still managed to lose what they were defending. So nothing's going well for anybody, apart from, I would say, the smaller parties are doing all right, and I include Reform UK still in the smaller parties, of course. They've only got 5 MPs.
Yeah. Let's have a dive into the Tory party, because if the Tories come fourth in 1 or 2 more polls, surely Kemi will be gone ASAP. They cannot be fourth. You can argue them being third because they're fighting reform, but dropping to fourth, I mean, that's unbelievable.
I stand to be corrected on this. I don't think it's ever happened where the Conservative Party has dropped to fourth place. Throughout the course of history, of course, since the party was founded, there hasn't always been 4 parties anyway. But in recent times, I can't think of any time, and I haven't been able to find one either, when the Tories have been so unpopular and dropped to fourth. Officially, of course, Kemi is safe until November because she's got 12 months grace, so she's allowed to stay as leader for 12 months. That's not to say that she's not going to lose the confidence of her shadow cabinet. I actually made a video the other day and I don't know if you've ever watched the thick of it or not.
I've seen bits.
Yeah, well, there's an episode where Nicola Murray's taken over and she's a bit hapless as well. And she takes over leadership of the party and then they want to get rid of her. And it shows her behind the scenes trying to change her fortunes and all that. And everyone's moving against her and stuff. And I think that's what's slowly happening here with Kemi. In a way, I've said this before, and I'm in the minority. I do feel slightly sorry for her because she's just taken a poison chalice, and it was a stupid thing of her to do. She should have been advised better. You know, it's like being David Moyes when you took over from Alex Ferguson at United, and you're never going to live up to what's just happened, and you're probably not going to last long. And they've just had 14 years of government. They've just been slaughtered, and then Kemi tries to take over it and turn the fortunes around. I actually think she's being stitched up, because this approach they've taken to policy, as in, well, we're not going to tell you anything now for at least 2 years. We'll announce some policies in about 24 months' time or something like that. And like, what are you doing? You know, that used to work when there was two parties and nobody else mattered. That doesn't work now. And the people inside CCHQ, the people closest to Kemi, should have recognised that. Her advisors should be on her side, even if CCHQ aren't, the Conservative Party headquarters. And they should have recognised this and said, you've got to come out and do something. And recently she has been announcing things, which shows a bit of panic, I think, on her side. She's obviously worried that people are going to move against her. She'll probably, I thought she might go sooner. I'm coming around to your way of thinking now. I think she'll make it to the conference. And then we might see a bit of a Jenrick flurry, if you will. Jenrick met quite the mark, I think, at the party conference. I did notice that they put a video out together, which is quite interesting. So maybe she's trying to, or the party are trying to associate her with Jenrick a bit more, because obviously he's doing very well, actually, polling within the party. And she's not even in the top 15, I don't think, to be leader of the party, according to members polling. So she is in major, major trouble.
And I think Jenrick probably did that because he doesn't want to be seen as the one who brings Kemi down and splits the party. Even though he wants to, he doesn't want to be seen to be that man, because that person never wears the crown. The person who stabs the leader in the back never wears the crown. So he's trying to play both sides there.
Oh, yeah, he's keeping his hands off the murder weapon, isn't he? Oh, definitely.
Absolutely. But the Tories, I mean, I don't even know what they could do. I mean, first of all, they were dealt a poor hand, but also a good hand. Can you imagine saying to the opposition, you're going to be in opposition against the worst performing prime minister ever and one of the worst performing governments ever, and they're going to be that bad from day one? So if you promised me that in opposition, I'd be a very, very happy shadow minister or shadow leader. But on top of that, they still haven't got rid of the 14 years of incompetence, because everyone I speak to always brings that up, such as, oh, they've announced this, they've announced that. But they're in power last year. They did nothing then, and that's going to take many years for that to wear off.
Yeah, it is. I never thought about it the way you just said it. It's actually not the worst hand to be dealt, is it? When you're starting from a very low ebb, and then you're up against a guy, who's got the personality of a baked potato, up against him in the House of Commons, you've really got a good shot at making this guy look bad.
Yeah, let's put it this way, Ash. You're a Labour leader. You've just lost in a landslide. Who would you rather have opposite you in the chamber? Keir Starmer or Tony Blair?
Yeah.
I mean, some people had Tony Blair, who I disagree with, but Jesus Christ, he was a great communicator. He was a very polished and clever politician, and he achieved stuff, even though I didn't agree with him. Or you've got Keir Starmer. Kemi Badenoch should be slapping herself on the back, going, I've got this idiot. But because he's an idiot and she fails, shows that she's not the right person for the job.
Yeah, it does. Or she's being stitched up. And again, I maintain this. She's being stitched up. She's being set for a fall.
By whom and what's the reason?
Because they've realised they've made an absolute mistake by putting her there. And she's making no impact whatsoever. In fact, if anything, the polls are showing that they're going backwards. So what they've done is they've gone, crap, we've made a mistake here, which probably should have been Jenrick. He'd have probably done a better job as leader of the opposition. Because what we're seeing now is, as well, it's not so easy for Labour to simply turn around every 5 minutes and go, well, 14 years of failure, 22 billion black hole. I've seen several interviews this week where these Labour MPs or ministers, etc., are trying to pump those same lines out, and the interviewers now are getting sick of it. They're actually interrupting him and saying, forget that. You've been in power for 11 months now. What have you done? So that's not holding water anymore. The reason I say it's a stitch up is nobody can get the questions so wrong in PMQs like Kemi does. You've got so many open goals to attack this guy on. And she never ever hits the right note every single week. It's like the questions have been written a week earlier and they just sit on her desk for a week and then we go into PMQs on Wednesday and she's reading last week's questions out. That's the way it seems to be. And as I've said before, she's clearly intelligent, so she must know she's doing it. So someone's advising her this is the right way to go about it. This is the right approach. And that can't be anyone that's really close to her because you'd be on her side. If I was a close advisor to an MP, I'd want the very best for that MP because my job relies on it. So my advice is keeping them in a job. So I need that. I need to do my very best for that person. It's got to be people higher up in CCHQ, who are hopeless anyway, by the way. They're a dreadful bunch of people that obviously want her out and they're going to bring somebody else in. But I still say, this is what we said the other week ago, it won't be Jenrick. I'd like it to be, see if we can turn the fortunes around a bit, but it won't be Jenrick.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready for Jenrick. Yeah, I think he is the long-term answer at the moment for the Tories if they wanted to be seen as a serious party. But I don't think the headquarters are looking at him. I don't think the other MPs are looking at him. They're going to have to take some more beatings before they realise why they're so unpopular, and maybe then they'll turn.
The funny thing is, he actually might be the answer. But CCHQ is just like the majority of the parliamentary party and the Conservatives. They're wets. You know, I know some people who are very, quite high up in places like this. I'll give you my local association, right? My local Tory association that I was always a part of, campaigned for, etc. They can't stand me. The people that run it cannot stand me, and that's because I've told them exactly what they are. They are a bunch of wets. They do support, they don't support, like conservative values. They hated Boris before he even got in. They didn't give him a chance. Some of the MPs we've had round here, they're exactly the same. Just these wet people that they love to campaign for. They fit right in with this current Conservative Party, and people like Jenrick don't. And that's, as I know we've said, he might not be completely being genuine here. He might be just doing what he has to do to try and get the leadership, and then he's going to turn into a Lib Dem. But he might not. Maybe he has had a conversion. Maybe he has seen the light, and he might do something. But I just don't think he'll get that opportunity. And we're going to see somebody come in from the left field, if you will, a bit like a Cameron did, because he started all this bloody wet stuff anyway. He was the ultimate Tory wet, wasn't he, him and Osborne? So that's what we're going to see. Somebody come from the left field who's very centrist, very safe, steady the ship, if you will, and all that. And it won't help them, though. Jenrick's rhetoric on its own could bring them up a few points in the polls.
Oh, absolutely. He's very slowly beginning to win me over. A couple of months ago, I was 100% that he was a liar and not to be trusted. I'm at 99% now. He's won me over 1%. If he keeps on going, that's going to increase and increase and increase. So he's saying all the right things. Someone else saying all the right things is Reform UK. Reform UK now run 10 councils, and it's pleased me over the last couple of days reading things like Durham Council have now taken down the Pride flag and the Ukrainian flag from inside the chamber. Another council now of getting rid of all the DEI officers, equality officers, all those things. And that's beginning to cheer me up. What else has been going on with Reform UK?
Well, I completely agree with you. That was Lincolnshire you're on about, by the way. And they tried to deny that there was any DEI staff. The council staff came out and said, we don't have any DEI officers. And when Andrea Jenkins looked into it, it turned out the job title was something like welfare officers or something like that. And she went, this is your DEI staff. They're sacked, basically. They're going. And they're sacking these people all over the country and making big savings. I did see that in Durham as well, by the way. They're doing the same thing in Lancashire. They're all refusing any DEI training, any racial bias training and all that stuff. They're simply saying, no, we're not doing it. There's nothing you can do about it, which is fantastic. And this is what they need to do now. If they said they'd do this before they got elected, the people have got them elected. And if they can stick to this sort of agenda, keep doing what they're doing, I think they'll be fine. And I think it will actually only enhance the polling as people go on. And they're making sure, by the way, if you look at social media, all these individual councillors, the individual councils, the Reform are making sure that everybody knows yeah, we're refusing this woke training. We're not doing it. We're just going to get on with running the council. They're sending these, what they call, well, British Doge officers, I suppose they're calling it, aren't they? Government efficiency. They're sending those in to find out, because the books got opened last week, I think. So they'll be pouring through the books now to find out where money's going, what's it being spent on, etc.
There's going to be some shocks that come out of that. I'm telling you, there'll be some headlines coming out of investigating those books.
They will, and they'll make sure, if they've got any sense, they'll make sure that you know about every single one of them. They might even do some sort of rally again at an arena and go through all these councils and what they're spending the money on, where the money's going. That's what I'd do, and I'd make sure everybody knew where this money was going. And when you see services improving, whether that's bin collections or whatever in your local area, or even some potholes getting fixed for a change, when you see that improving in your local area, then you know you've got a Reform UK Council if they're doing the jobs. And then that, of course, ties in with any more by-elections coming up or any general elections coming up. Because if you live in some dump like Birmingham that's run by Labour and you've got rats the size of cats running around, then you're going to think, hang on a minute, I want a bit of that. Why do I live in a shithole when these people have got the bins getting collected every single week and stuff? So there's not a lot you can say about Reform at the minute. They're pushing at an open door. They've got the chance now. The hard work starts now, of course, to prove to people that you can run these councils. Then they'll give you a chance to run the government as well. But if they can prove it, there's only them that can. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There's only them that can stop them now. They can only bring themselves down. If they carry on like they are and keep doing what they're doing, we've got 2 more parliamentary by-elections probably coming up in the next few months, and they can win both of those.
Yeah. Where are they?
We've got North East Somerset, which is Dan Norris, Labour MP. He's been arrested for, what was it now? I don't want to get the offences wrong. One of them was definitely kidnap. Let's just say sexual offences towards children anyway. That he's been arrested for that. That was, of course, Jacob Rees-Mogg's old seat. Polling shows that if Jacob Rees-Mogg stood for Reform UK tomorrow, he'd win a 20,000 majority. But it shows if he stood for the Tories, he'd be neck and neck with Reform UK. And make no mistake now, Farage is behind the scenes and he's phoning Jacob Rees-Mogg every day. Have you defected yet? Have you defected yet? And it wouldn't surprise me if he did, because why not? He's probably far more aligned with Reform UK now than he is with the Conservative Party. Certainly the current Conservative Party, so why not? And I think Jacob Rees-Mogg will. I think he will. The other one is a Tory MP. Where is it? I think it's Ipswich.
And what's happened there?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his offence. I don't want to speculate on what his offence is. I'll try and look it up.
It's a criminal offence.
Oh, it's a criminal offence. Yeah. He's been arrested and stuff. Yeah. So he's definitely in trouble. Probably leading to another by-election. Suffolk and that, I think Reform were doing pretty well there. The polling showed they were doing pretty well there. It was a seat. I don't think there was Labour before. It was a pretty safe Tory seat, of course. Suffolk is pretty safe Tory country. But that's going to be a big test now for the Conservatives. Can they hold on to a decent sized majority? So we'll have to see what goes on there as well.
It's exciting times for Reform UK. You know, they must be extremely happy with themselves. It's exciting times. And running a council. Pardon?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say it's win-win for them in a way. Because, all right, Somerset, if you put Jacob Rees-Mogg up and you lose it, then you've got a problem, a PR problem. But if you're standing in a by-election in somewhere like Ipswich, which you'd expect the Tories to absolutely, sweep all before them, and you lose it by 1,000, but you've overturned a 20,000 majority, then fine, you can accept that. But if you win it, then it's even more of a miraculous thing, isn't it? The MP, by the way, is Patrick Spencer. It's North Ipswich, and he's accused of 2 attacks on separate women in August 2023. They're saying it's before he was elected, but doesn't make a difference. If he's done this, he's done this. So it would still force a by-election.
Right. So Reform are going to be happy, and they've got 2 more bites of the cherry to get some more MPs. Let's talk about Lib Dems. Have Lib Dems evaluated their local elections? Is there any rumours there? Is there any rumours about them getting? They need a new leader. We all know they need a new leader. Is anything going on there, or are they just carrying on with this hippy dippy? Let's all be pink and cuddly, and we'll just be the alternative vote for everybody else.
Yeah, you're pretty right there, actually. For the last few weeks, the silly stunts seem to have stopped, actually. And Ed Davies had a few questions inside Parliament, not making much of a splash, never does. The Lib Dems never do they? I think they're pretty happy at the minute. And although they never admit it, they know they're not going to form the next government. But the polling shows at the moment that if an election was held tomorrow, they'd actually gain seats. They go up to about 90 seats, which I find incredible. But that's basically Labour and Tory voters that don't want to vote for the traditional parties, so they're happy to lend their vote to the Lib Dems because they want to teach the other party a lesson. As things stand, yeah, I think they're pretty content. They're not going to rock the boat at the minute. If they get some by-election in the home counties or something, they're going to look to certainly take seats off the Tories, which, that they could be a contender for the Ipswich seat we've just been talking about. There's every chance there, alongside Reform UK, because Labour won't have a prayer in that part of the country. So it would be probably a two-horse race between Reform UK and the Lib Dems, especially given the way the Tories polls going at the moment. So if I was Ed Davey, given what a clown I am, I'd think I'm pretty lucky to be where I am. Why rock the boat? Things are going well. I wouldn't change a thing if I was him. I'd just leave it as it is. Just stop going down water slides and actually try and act like you're a politician.
Yeah, I think he's also thinking something else as well. And he knows he's not going to win the general election, but it's looking like he'll win more seats. And he could be the kingmaker. If Labour, lose lots of seats but don't have enough to form a government, if Tories do better than expected and don't have enough to form a government, he could be the kingmaker, just like Nick Clegg. And I think he would demand certain stuff if he was going to be the kingmaker. So I think he's probably saying to himself, don't make any foolish mistakes, carry on being ippy dippy. People seem to like it. And in 2, 3, 4 years' time from now, that could be our time. We could get some of our main policies and use and have them secured because we will be the kingmaker.
Yeah, it's certainly a tactic he's playing, yeah. I mean, you'd need more. I think you'd need more than 90 seats to be the kingmaker, personally. But then again, we don't know, do we? Anything can happen between now and the next general election. But if he can get 90 odd seats and Labour can get, I don't know, a decent amount, then yeah, he could actually frighteningly get into a coalition government and be deputy prime minister or something like that. I think the chances of that are extremely slim, personally. I think Labour and the Tories are going to get such a smacking at the next election that it's going to be hard to see any sort of coalition deal being done. I personally think Reform. I'm not saying they're going to get a ridiculous majority, but I think Reform will, barring no massive cock-ups, will form the next government.
Well, let's hope so, because even if they turn out to be charlatans and turn out to be a waste of space, there won't be any worse than all the governments we've had previously. And at least with them, there's a chance. There's a sliver of hope that they could be what we need. So for me, it's I will be voting Reform UK because it's a win-win for me. They'll either be just like everybody else, in which case it'll be disappointing, or they could be what we need.
Well, that's it. Who'd notice another charlatan or waste of space in this country, given the governments we've had for the last 20, 30 years? So, yeah, you might as well give it another go. And, yeah, I know we've both said this before, haven't we, on this show? If they turn out to be crap, then we've lost nothing, because we've got rubbish in charge now anyway.
Well, if we're going to talk about crap, let's end this podcast on the Labour Party. Let me ask you this simple. That's not a simple question. This is going to tax you. How crap is this Labour government?
It's harder to actually. It's very hard to actually think of something positive they've done or anything they've got right. If you look at the polling, I mean, I've never known a collapse like this. A collapse of a government, a collapse of a prime minister, a collapse of the cabinet. They're all trying to stand there and gaslight us and say, I saw Starmer the other day in the Lidl, like he's never been in Lidl before, but he said his first words were bills down, jobs up. I'm like, what are you talking about? The complete opposite is happening. Bills are going up, unemployment's going up, jobs are going down. Nothing's going right for them. The economy is getting worse all the time. They're trying to say fiscal rules. That's gone. They're still, 11 months on, having to come out with 22 billion black hole. Not working. And it doesn't seem to me they've got any fresh ideas. Now, this Morgan McSweeney guy who's the self-professed genius of politics, I think he's an absolute charlatan. I think he's a joke. If he's the one who they're putting all their faith in as Starmer's chief of staff to turn this party's fortunes around, then I think he's a charlatan. I think he's like Rachel Reeves and Jonathan Reynolds. I think he's made his CV up. I honestly don't see what he brings to the table, because they're saying he masterminded Starmer's victory in the local election, in the general election. Nobody masterminded. The only people who masterminded Starmer's victory
were the Tories.
Yeah, the Conservatives masterminded it. And then he went over to America to go and help Kamala Harris with her campaign.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
She got slaughtered as well. And for people to come out and say Morgan McSweeney is this genius, he's not. He's absolutely not. I can't stand that war criminal Alistair Campbell, but that's how you run. That's how the chief of staff is. That's how you behave. That you run the place with an iron fist and stuff. You're ahead of the stories all the time. He's none of that. And that's why they're tanking so badly. These people had 14 years in opposition, and they haven't got an original thought in their heads between them. And that's why they're sinking. They haven't got a clue what they're doing. They came into government, which is shocking, knowing that they were going to win that election. Everyone knew they were going to win that election at least 6 months before, and they still had no policies and no ideas. And that's why the policies they're bringing out, old rehashed things that were offered to countless governments before them that all turned them down, including Blair's government turned them down.
Let's be honest, it must be very difficult running the government, as in running the country. It's a tough job, and we know it to be a tough job. It's not easy. Mistakes are made, lots of different factors, spinning so many plates. But this government has had no external factors hit it. Gordon Brown had the crash. Boris Johnson had COVID. They all handled them poorly, but these were external factors that impacted their government and impacted the country. This government started with no mandate, with no honeymoon period, and by themselves went down every week in opinion polls and just did things worse and worse and worse. There's been no wars, no new wars have started that's affected us. There's been no trade wars, really. Nothing external has impacted it. This is all down to them and their incompetence.
It is, yeah. And the latest phrase they keep using, the world's changed. The world's changed. No, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't.
Before you came into government, did you not realise that Putin had invaded Ukraine? Did that escape your notice? Nothing had changed. The only thing that's changed is the changes that they've made. The fiscal rules, as they like to call it. The economy tanking because of them. Us extracting less fossil fuels, for example, from the North Sea. Them trying to shut down coal mines, not wanting to go after shale gas in Lincolnshire, the biggest shale gas field in Europe. It's their policies, it's their decisions that are having a negative impact on people, having an impact on the economy. It's why inflation's gone up 0.9% in the last month, and it's going to keep going up. And I couldn't believe the line the other day when they went, "Oh, that's why interest rates have gone down 4 times in a row." No, they're doing that. I don't think they read their own briefings. They're doing that because they're panicking about the way that inflation is going to rise, and they're trying to get ahead of the curve for a change and stop it rising. But it's obviously having no effect whatsoever because it's gone up to 3.5% again. And all Rachel Reeves can do is stand there saying, "No, it's a bit disappointing."
Is it disappointing, Rachel? Is it really disappointing?
Yeah, while you live in while you live in Downing Street, number 11, where you've got no bills to pay and nothing. Honestly, these people make me sick.
Well, you've depressed the life out of me, Ash. We should have started with Labour and ended on Reform. I'd have been a bit happier. Well, to try to make me a little bit happier, let's do a little bit on the Greens. The Greens, to me now, are openly a communist organisation, and they're attracting all the Islamic nutcases to their cause. Am I wrong?
No, they've completely betrayed what the Greens were set up for. You know, the clue's in the name, isn't it? They were there to, if you go back decades, they'd clean oil spills off wildlife. You know, they'd actually do some good things, do good work, actually. You know, very, very admirable work. Now they're just taking anybody who's got a voice, basically. They're not really bothered who they are. So, yes, they gained a lot of councillors. Well, 50, 60 councillors, something like that. Fine. But they've done that by selling their souls to these extreme, in some cases, extreme Islamist candidates, or just anybody that wears a Palestinian flag or something like that. They're not interested in that cause. They don't care about Palestine. They couldn't point to it on a map. They don't know what River to the Sea means. But if it gets them a councillor, then they're happy to do so. And that's all it's coming down to. We've actually seen some of these people get done already in the Greens for their extreme language. Not, extreme like Islamist language or anti-Semitic rhetoric. And that's what the Greens are now. They're just, what's the word? A doss house for the wastes and strays that no other credible party would touch because the people are so extreme that they would never touch them. But the Greens seem perfectly happy to allow them to come into their party. And as far as climate issues go and things like that, I can't remember the last time one of them spoke about a climate issue. All they talk about is Palestine, or they talk about Israel, or, well, that's pretty much it. To be quite honest with you, I can't think of anything else that they actually. Or they talk about trans people as well. That's about it. That's your lot.
And that's exactly who they are now. The Greens are the most dangerous party in the UK. If we ever got a Green government, you think this Labour government's bad. If we ever got a Green government, I'm telling you, things would be over. I read their manifesto a couple of years ago. I wrote an article on it. You wouldn't believe what they want. You know, they want no economy. They want no manufacturing. In their manifesto, they want to promote people to all of us to have our own allotments, to use wasteland in our cities to grow food, basically because we're going to need it, because farming is going to be impacted. It was like reading something out of 1984, what they want this country to be. They're the most dangerous party in the UK. And because they're small and we perceive them to be the good guys because they're all about the environment, we never dig into what they actually want. And what they actually want is worldwide communism. That's what they want.
Let us all be thankful that they will never, ever get into government then. There's absolutely no chance. So, this is why I barely talk about the Greens, because as far as I'm concerned, they're just an irrelevance. They're nothing more than a little pressure group. They've managed to get one MP or two MPs here and there, but as far as I'm concerned, they don't matter. And I really don't care about them that much.
Well, Ash, you've now cheered me up because the Greens don't matter. That's cheered me up. Ash, thanks for coming along today, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Nick. Cheers.
Bye-bye.